In our language, Tjukurla means history in the white woman's terminology. Your history, we don't say that, we say Tjukurla. And there it is. Behind me there's that big buri there, see? Moorine Rock, but that's the Tjukurla too, see? And there's handprints in there too as well. And you'll find it all around in my country. You'll find that in the buri, there's all that there, where that's been hand-printed to let people know that we were here. We were always here and we always will be here. So that's our Tjukurla, that's our history. You go to your encyclopedias, we go to the rocks and other places. Well, this place here, Karalee or Mulinyi, was again a water place for our people. Definitely in this arid country of ours, it was beautiful to have water. It was life and death, and that's what the prospectors and the explorers knew. One thing that they wanted most of all was water. They would go to any length to get that water, to know where that water is, because that water was very precious. Well, this is Kambalda, of course, and we're on top of the lookout here. It is called Walyirrpi in our language, Walyirrpi. Yeah, our people used to come here, and when they journeyed through, you'll also find rock holes across the lake there, the Dera. Down the bottom here as well, you'll see a well that used to be there when the miners first came, and they named the mine Red Hill, actually, after this. All the places around is our country, the Kaalamaya Kambalda. And if you look to the southwest here, there's a place down there called Duggary Soak in the white man's language, but it's called Duggaduggadangi in ours. And that's the soak that used to be there. I actually drank water out of that years ago, but it's covered over now by when they put the new railway line through. Sad, but that's life, I suppose. They call it progress. But for us, that's our water source that's been lost. One of our many water places, Kapi Tjukurla, you know, beautiful water, which was life-saving for us all. Well, it was theirs, and it was their life, their livelihood, right, for their family and their people. They didn't want intruders to take hold of it and damage it, destroy it, which if you read history and you find out and go through, you'll find that that's exactly what happened, because when they came through, they had horses and camels, but they had the water. They needed a lot, you see. They didn't want them because they didn't want to show them. It's like you know, having your last bit of water and someone's coming along and saying, I want that water. You know, you'd be reluctant to actually give that water. Well, if you went there and that water was nice and fresh, and there was bulrushes, kinjeris all around and everything else, flowers, there would be, the soul would be there. The Jila, and he's right there, see? You have to understand that you have to be very careful. You don't go and destroy, you don't go in there and chuck in stones and rocks and bottles and start shooting and stuff like that. No, just desecrating it, see? And definitely not taking snakes away. The Jila, you know? You have to be honest with that, and you have to be there and you have to believe in it. You have to believe. If you don't, you must not be here, see? They are there for a purpose. They are there because they love you, they want you, and they want you to look after them. Don't destroy them. Don't get rid of them. Don't kill them. Don't take them away. You're taking away the soul, you see? Or the Kapi Tjukurla, see? You got to be very careful. This is Higginsville, pumping station. Me and my family, my immediate family, were here in the 1970s. I was on the pumping station. I was in charge of the pumping station here. Believe it or not, the mail used to come to here, and I used to deliver the mail down to the prospectors down at the Higginsville town site, believe it or not. So my job was the jewel here. So they kept me busy, of course, but it didn't worry me. I loved it, and I loved being with my family, of course. This is the Southern Cross Reserve, Native Reserve, and this where we did camp along with others, mainly because we had to work here and worked around on the farms. Not allowed to be hanging around in town. You had to be working, of course, and it didn't matter as long as you were working. That was one of the conditions of being here. You never were sitting down idle, and there was no social security them days. Money was pretty scarce. You had to work for your money. Winter time was cold, but you never had wood, you see, because the farms were the farmers' woods, see. The woods were there with the farms. But what we used to do was go and get coal from the steam train. That was one of the things that kept us warm. We also got our meat, if you like, we call it meat anyway, from the slaughter yard down here. Some of our people used to work there on the slaughter yard as butchers, and they'd tell us when a kill, and you went down and you was allowed to get certain parts of the animal, i.e. the tripe, the guts, runners and a few other things. Of course you could have the head, sheep's head, but it had no brains and no tongue. Boating, yeah, I remember we was out in the bush actually, had a Daviest, and I remember the guy from Menzies came out and it was late at night, and he said that we had to vote, me and the father-in-law, and we didn't know what we were voting for. We never voted before, you see, so that was kind of a shock to us, but we voted. Oh yes. We found out after that was what it was for. A referendum to become citizens of Australia. Strange, isn't it? You know, strange. You can be born here, live here, have people here, and then you're not here. You don't belong here. Unless they say you belong here. I had to apply for a citizenship while I was in Kalgoorlie, Boulder. And we were living in Boulder, you see, at the time, me and Mum and Dad. I was working on the mine. I can remember the JP, I think it was, and when he seen my application to go for citizenship, he asked the question, why? Why did I have to have a citizenship, and why there? Well, of course, it was very derogatory as far as I was concerned. This is Kalgoorlie, and this rock hole here is called Gulgurri. Gulgurri is the mulga trees, two mulga trees here, Gurri. The Kaprun people that was here used to live up the top here. When the prospectors all came, they found gold down to the northeast here, what they call Fly Flat, Bailey's reward. But when it rained, because it was all clay pan, they were slopping around in the mud. Then they looked and they seen the Kaprun people up here sitting on dry ground near the rock hole. So what did they do? They booted them off. They told them to get from here, this place. This is really the catalyst for us, for the Kaprun people, the Kaalamaya. Beacon people, and yes, Kalgoorlie is the name of Kalgoorlie today. Well, they had to expand it, so they blew it up and opened it out a bit more and damaged it, of course. But if you look around, you'll see miniature rock holes like this one here, right around. And you'll find more if you look around here. You'll see them all around here. They're all there. They were all here from day one, you see. This is our watercourse, our rock hole. It was a Kapi there, you see. Tjukurla there, right? Yes, all around here. Look at it, how beautiful it was. Yeah, I worked on this pipeline from being a labourer to work my way up to become a first-class welder. It was quite fulfilling for me. We were a proud race of people. The Kaprun were always very independent, and we believed in ourselves. We believed in what we had, and I will tell my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, never to be complacent and never put yourself down. Always remember who you are, because this is your heritage. Water is your heritage. The rockholes and soaks in our country is your heritage. They're nobody else's, so always look after them. Be mindful of that, always look after them. I would like us to actually, for my people, to be given more access to those places, to actually look after them. I've seen the water places and I've seen the rockholes, how they're now overflowing with dirt and not being maintained sufficiently. And I blame the government of the day for all that, where we should be put in as guardians and wardens for it, because it is ours. Why shouldn't we have it? Why shouldn't we have that authority? Other groups of people have it all around, not only here in Western Australia, but other states as well. And the thing is, we are the only ones who are not allowed to have that. Why?